My husband always said he'd stand by me through anything, but when my mom died and left me a fortune, he showed his true colors. He thought he'd get half of everything. He didn't know my mom had planned a secret trap for him in her will, and it changed my life forever. My mom and I were always close. She raised me alone after my dad walked out when I was just 5. We didn't have much money growing up, but mom was smart with what little she had. She worked 2 jobs and always saved a little extra, saying it was for my future, though I never imagined how much she'd managed to put away. When I met Noah in college, Mom was happy for me, at first. He was charming, funny, and ambitious. He swept me off my feet in a way that made me feel like I was living in a romance novel. Mom liked him, but she always had that cautious look in her eyes when he'd talk about his big dreams and expensive tastes. I should have paid more attention. We got married 3 years ago. Life was good, or at least I thought it was. Noah had a decent job in sales, and I worked as an accountant. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. The only tension was money. Noah always wanted more. He talked about starting a business, buying a luxury car, taking fancy trips, things we just couldn't afford yet. I thought he was just dreaming big. Then last year, my mom passed away. It was sudden, a heart attack in her sleep. I was devastated. Losing her felt like losing the only real anchor I had in this world. For the first few weeks, Noah was supportive. He cooked dinner, took care of the funeral arrangements, and told me to take time off work to grieve. But things shifted fast when Mom's lawyer called. I found out Mom had left me everything, her house, her life savings, a small insurance payout, altogether worth nearly $2 million. I couldn't believe it. She'd never let on that she'd saved so much. At first, I was too numb to think about it. But Noah, he was suddenly full of ideas. He talked about moving to a bigger house, buying a new car, maybe even putting money into crypto. He started spending hours on Zillow, showing me listings for houses way bigger than we needed. One night I said, I think Mom would want me to be careful with it. Maybe I should just put it in savings for now. He laughed, this weird, dismissive laugh that made my stomach tighten. Babe, you're overthinking it. This is our chance to level up. Your mom would want you to enjoy life. She wouldn't want you stuck in this tiny house. The way he said our chance bothered me, but I pushed it aside. I told myself he was just excited, that he loved me, that we were a team. Then the spending started. He bought himself a new watch. It's an investment piece, he told me when I saw the 5-figure charge on our credit card. He came home one day in a leased BMW without asking me first. He said he'd handle the payments. Except the payments were coming from my mom's money. One night, after a stupid argument about money, I asked him directly, if we ever got divorced, you'd get half of this money, wouldn't you? He smirked. Actually smirked. That's how marriage works, babe. What's yours is mine. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up reading about inheritance laws, about what counts as marital property, and about what my mom's will actually said. That's when I found it, the clause that changed everything. Mom's lawyer confirmed it. Buried in the paperwork was a condition. If I ever divorced my husband and proved financial misconduct, he'd get nothing asterisk from the inheritance. The money would stay in a protected trust for me, or for any kids I might have, but never for him. It hit me then, Mom knew. She knew Noah wasn't who he pretended to be. She never said it out loud, but she knew he'd tried to get his hands on her money, and she set a trap for him, just in case. I felt a mix of anger and relief. Part of me wanted to confront him right away, scream at him for showing his true colors so fast. But Mom didn't raise me to be reckless. She taught me to be smart, patient, careful, so I decided to wait, to watch, to gather proof. And oh, did Noah give me plenty. I started tracking every penny. I opened a separate account my mom had set up in my name years ago. Noah didn't know about it. Every time he spent from my inheritance, I quietly moved an equal amount out of our joint account into my private one. I started keeping receipts, screenshots, bank statements. Every big charge he made without my consent went into a folder. Meanwhile, Noah got bolder. He threw a huge birthday party for himself at a fancy rooftop bar. He invited coworkers I'd never met, bragging about how we could afford anything now. He told people I was the one being stingy, that he deserved to have fun after working so hard for this family. It hurt, the lies, the way he twisted it all around, but I smiled through it. I played the supportive wife. I let him think I was clueless while I built my case. One night, he came home late, drunk and careless. He flopped down on the couch next to me and started ranting about his new business idea. He wanted to open a bar with his friend Mark. He'd already put down a non-refundable deposit, with my mom's money, of course. When I asked if he'd even drafted a plan or talked to a lawyer, he just waved his hand at me. You worry too much. It's my money too, that was it. The last switch flipped inside me. I knew I couldn't save this marriage, and honestly, I didn't want to anymore. The man I thought I'd loved was nothing but a gold digger wrapped in expensive cologne. So I went to Mom's lawyer. We made copies of everything: the credit card statements, the forged signatures on a couple of withdrawal slips I'd found, the emails he sent pretending to be me. The lawyer said it was more than enough to prove financial misconduct and protect the trust. Then I quietly found a place to stay, a small apartment under my name only. I didn't tell Noah. I waited for him to leave town for a business trip with Mark. The moment he left, I packed my essentials, called a moving truck, and took everything that was mine. When he got back 3 days later, he found an empty house and divorce papers on the kitchen counter, and a letter from my mom's lawyer explaining exactly what he'd lose, which, thanks to my mom's foresight, was everything. He called me over and over, first sweet, then furious, then threatening. I didn't answer. I let my lawyer handle every word. He tried to fight it at first, said I couldn't prove he misused the money. My lawyer just slid the stack of evidence across the table. He shut up fast after that. It took months, but the divorce went through. He got nothing from the trust, not a penny. The judge agreed it stayed with me alone. He walked away with only his leased BMW and a pile of debt he'd racked up trying to impress people who didn't care about him. For a while, I was angry at myself. How could I have been so blind? How could I have married someone who saw me as a walking ATM? But then, when I stood in my new little apartment, just me, my books, my mom's old photo albums, I felt something else. Relief. Mom wasn't there in person, but she'd protected me one last time. Even from beyond the grave, she made sure I'd be okay. I spent the next few months rebuilding my life. Therapy helped a lot. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean ignoring the red flags. That sometimes, the people who swear they'll stand by you forever are the first ones to run when they can't control you. I took a trip alone for the first time in my life, to a quiet cabin in the mountains my mom once dreamed of visiting. I sat on the porch at sunrise with a cup of coffee, feeling the cold air on my skin and the freedom in my chest. I whispered, "Thank you, Mom," to the wind. Sometimes people ask me if I regret anything. I do, but not leaving him. I regret not trusting my gut sooner. I regret not listening to the quiet warnings Mom tried to give me. But mostly, I'm grateful for her love, her stubbornness, her clever plan that saved my future. Now I still have the money, but I'm careful with it. I bought a modest house, paid off all my personal debts, and put the rest into a trust that no one can touch but me and maybe one day my kids. If I ever have them. Noah, last I heard, he tried to open that bar with Mark, but it flopped within 6 months. He called me once, drunk and miserable, wanting to talk things out. I blocked his number and went out for ice cream with my best friend instead. I don't need revenge. I don't need to get even. The best thing I ever did was walk away and watch him lose the one thing he cared about more than me. Easy money. Mom always said life would test me in ways I couldn't imagine. She was right, but she also taught me how to survive, how to stand my ground when someone tries to take what's mine. And now, when I look at my life, I don't see a broken marriage. I see freedom. I see proof that love shouldn't cost you your peace. And I see the quiet power of a mother's love, strong enough to protect her daughter, even when she's gone. A few months after the divorce, I thought I'd feel lonely. But strangely, I didn't. It was like I'd been living with a ghost for years, the ghost of what I thought my marriage was supposed to be. Once that was gone, I finally had room to figure out who I really was. I started small. I painted my new living room a warm yellow, like my mom's old kitchen. I bought plants I knew I'd probably kill, but somehow, they thrived, maybe because, for once, I had the mental space to actually care for them. I reconnected with old friends Noah never liked. He'd always said they were bad influences, because they didn't match his image of the perfect couple life. One evening, my best friend Maya came over with a bottle of wine and takeout. We sat cross-legged on my living room floor, eating noodles straight from the box and laughing so hard we cried. "I missed you," she said, wiping her eyes. "I missed me too," I told her. The money, my mom's money, stayed right where it was meant to be. Safe. Sometimes I felt guilty spending any of it at all, but my therapist reminded me it wasn't just about guarding it forever. It was about using it wisely, in ways Mom would have wanted. So I did. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter, using some of the trust's interest to help fund emergency stays for women trying to escape situations like mine, or worse. Every time I signed a check to cover someone's rent for a month or bought groceries for a mom and her kids, I felt my mother's presence at my shoulder, nodding. One night, after a long day at work and an evening at the shelter, I sat on my bed scrolling through old photos of Mom. One picture always made me stop, the two of us on my high school graduation day. Her arm around my shoulder, her smile wide, her eyes proud but worried, like she already knew the world would test me more than it should. Sometimes I still hear her voice. Be smart, baby. Don't let anyone tell you what you deserve. Know your worth. Noah's voice used to live in my head too, the sly jokes about how I was lucky to have him, the passive-aggressive digs when I didn't agree to some big new plan. But lately, that voice was fading. It was being replaced by my own. One afternoon, I ran into Mark, Noah's old business buddy, at a grocery store. He looked rough, older somehow, worn out by bad choices. He tried to act casual. So, you and Noah, that whole thing. I just smiled. Yeah, it's done. He scratched his neck. He's in Florida now, trying to start something else. He still says you ruined him, you know. I laughed, really laughed. He ruined himself. Tell him I said hi. And I walked away feeling lighter than I had in years. I started traveling more, nothing extravagant. Little road trips, solo weekends by the coast, visits to the places Mom used to dream of. Once I sat alone on a beach at sunset, listening to the waves crash. I thought about all the versions of myself I'd been: the naive college girl, the loyal wife ignoring the red flags, the grieving daughter, the quiet fighter who gathered proof while pretending to smile. And then I thought about the version I was now, a woman who knew how to stand on her own feet, how to protect herself, how to say no without apology. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever marry again. I don't know, maybe. Maybe not. I believe in love still, just not the fairy tale I used to cling to. I believe in partnership built on respect, not manipulation. And I know I'd never let myself be blind again. Mom used to say, love is a promise, not a bargain. Noah never understood that. He thought love meant he owned me, my choices, my money, my life. He was wrong. A few weeks ago, I found an old birthday card from Mom tucked into one of her cookbooks. Inside, in her neat, looping handwriting, she'd written, "One day you'll see what I see, how strong you really are. Don't let anyone dim that light." I pressed that card to my chest and promised her I wouldn't. Today, my life is simple, and that's exactly how I want it. I have my work, my friends, my books, my plants that somehow keep thriving. I have the freedom to wake up every morning and know no one can take away what I've built, what my mom protected for me. I'm not rich in the way Noah dreamed of: luxury cars, huge houses, flashy parties, but I'm wealthy in a way he'll never understand. I'm at peace. I'm free. I'm strong in my own name, not because someone else says so. If I ever do fall in love again, it won't be with a man who wants to level up with my money. It'll be with someone who sits with me on the couch, eating noodles from the box, laughing until we cry, never once asking for anything but my company. And when I think about Mom, about how she worked 2 jobs for years so I'd have something better, I know she didn't just leave me money. She left me the courage to protect myself, the wisdom to see people for who they are, and the reminder that a mother's love doesn't end when her heart stops beating. It lives on in secret trusts, in hidden letters, in quiet lessons whispered when we're ready to hear them. So this is my story, not about how my husband betrayed me, but about how my mother saved me, twice. And I know, wherever she is, she's proud.